guys, this is Mandeep from The Hungry Orchid, and I'm here with my really good friend since the 6th grade, and she has an Instagram account called Readdress Adventures, and I actually wore a kind of red dress. It's in the family of red.
Definitely in the family. You're a little bit more pink dress adventures, but it works.
Yeah. But you take along all of your friends onto your journey, onto your travel journeys, which is amazing.
Virtually, just to clarify, I'm not super rich. Like, I'm not inviting anyone.
Yes. Yeah, and you kind of work at the same time. You work remotely as you're traveling, and you take us along through Instagram, and it's amazing. But we'll talk about that. But let's talk about how we first met. This is like way back, like again, 6th grade. Like, do you want to, is there a story that we can pinpoint the nice people?
I mean, there are definitely stories. This is a story that we keep on coming back to where originally you just did not like me at all.
Okay, well, let's go before that. Like, I didn't know anything about you. Is that even true? I don't know. I feel like it was true.
Did you just make it? We've been friends for, like, what is it now? Like 30-something years?
Seriously? 30?
No, we're not 30.
The thing that pops into my head is when I'm reading Harry Potter, and you're just like this social butterfly, and you have like all your friends, you have your group of friends, and I'm just like, I'm still coming out of my shell. I'm still developing a personality at this point, and you come in and kind of, I don't know, you kind of interrupt the nerdiness, you know, the nerdiness and the bubble that I had, the introvertedness, and so that's what I go back to. I do remember the whole, I wasn't.
You didn't like me.
But do you want to talk about a little bit about you, kind of like introduce yourself, or however, like you would describe your story, I guess.
As far as the travel thing goes, it was almost like a serendipitous coming about. I was just super confused. Like, after college, I didn't have a job lined up after graduation. I was just like, hey, I got my diploma and whoop-de-doo. Now what am I supposed to do with it? And so I was job hunting across the board, and I feel like that's almost a common thread throughout my life, where I'm like, let me just test like every single option out there. Let me apply for like marketing jobs, product design jobs, just anything that was out there that seemed interesting. And I said this like so many times that the first job I had like ruined me for the better.
Yeah.
In the sense that with my first job, it involved travel.
Yeah.
And working with high school students, which has been a passion of mine like since I can remember. It was fantastic, and it was something that I hadn't realized was a possibility.
Yeah.
So that was so fortunate and just so cool. I'm like, holy smokes, like, this is my job. I think the first year I may have traveled to like 12 different countries. Yeah, so that just like catapulted me into one, this like career area, and also this lifestyle, which, yeah, like at this point it's become very much a lifestyle. Between, you know, like living in the US and you know, being Mexican and traveling to Mexico, when I was in college, I ended up getting my passport and traveling to Ecuador. Mm-hmm. So that was huge for me. I ended up bungee jumping there, and it's hilarious because I end up talking about bungee jumping like it's this like amazing like spiritual experience. You know, but no joke. That's what I end up.
You should start your own bungee jumping studio,
right?
Like, yeah, yoga studio. Like, let's meditate, and now 3, 2, 1,
jump off this bridge. But that's what it was, because there was this feeling of being in a new place and being so unrestricted by any labels that I had felt were put on me from before.
Yeah.
You know, where I feel like I grew up kind of being pushed into the frame of mind of like, you need to be afraid of heights, you need to be afraid of roller coasters, this stuff is scary. And so I think something from that first experience of being completely on my own, it was just my own personal dialogue in my mind. Yeah. And so I remember I was with my group of friends just riding our bikes through this beautiful area called Baños. It's like this lush, green, mountain, hilly place, and we're riding our bikes, and then I see this bridge and people jumping off of it, and I'm like, I need to do it. And I was like, okay, I've made the decision, like, let's not go back. What do I need to do in order to jump off this bridge? And so, I tell my friends, I'm like, hey, hold on. I think I want to do that. And I remember one of my friends, Heather, she's like, yeah, she's like, I think I'd be down to do it too. And I'm like, okay, cool, like, let's go. And so we walk over and, like, get informed. It's like, okay, it was something ridiculous. Like, you had to pay just like $15 or something. It's probably not the best way to go when you're about to jump off a bridge.
Putting your life on the line.
Yeah,
$15.
$15. And so, it was. That's the thing. Like, again, it's super spiritual. Where it's like making that decision to not listen to the fear, and then just breaking it down. Where it's like, okay, what's the next step? Okay, I stopped. People know that I'm interested in bungee jumping. Okay, let me go and get informed about bungee jumping. It costs this much. I have the money. I'm going to pay. What do I need to do now? I need to put on the harness. I need to put on the helmet. Okay, it's my turn now. I need to step on this bridge.
Yeah.
Just like breaking it down step by step so it's not very scary.
Yeah.
And I also remember that the person before me, actually a guy before the person before me, he had jumped and like cut his face with the rope.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, opportunity to get scared, but I'm like, okay, no, he was still super happy, and I'm like, okay, he's like, just jump out, don't just go straight down. I'm like, noted. And so then the person who was about to jump before me, she kept on going like up to the edge of the bridge. She was all like harnessed on, strapped in. And they're like, 1, 2, 3, and she wouldn't jump, and she'd like...
That's me.
She's
me. She's my spirit. We share spirit, yes.
Yeah,
okay.
And so I saw that, and I'm like, okay, note to self, on the count of 3, like, I just need to jump.
Yeah.
Again, like, breaking it down, it's like, it's the physical act of just leaping forward, don't overthink it, on the count of 3, this is what we're doing, and just, like, very much cementing it in that way. And so my turn came, and so they're like, okay, like, hop on here, and again, like, having grown up as a kid, being told like, okay, you're supposed to be afraid of this, and just not. I didn't know anyone, I think, at that point who had jumped off of anything or done any like, extreme sport.
Yeah.
Like taking that into account, like here I go and like I'm on the edge of this bridge that's over a river, like just rushing past, or these like big old rocks at the bottom. And so there I go, I'm standing on there, and they're like, okay, just look out. And so of course I look down, I'm like, cool, there's a river, all right, looking out now. And they're like, on the count of 3 you go. And so it was 1, 2, 3, and that's like what I did. It was 1, 2, 3, and I jumped. And it's that feeling of, you instantly feel that feeling of like, when you're about to slip, like you want to catch yourself and like, prevent that. Yeah. It's that feeling of like, oh, this isn't supposed to be happening.
Your body, it's like a visceral reaction.
It is a visceral reaction. So this was a bridge, and then I went like this. So
I love this leap. Just kind of just like was a part of your fate, right?
It was. It's a part of my dress. Actually, you wouldn't know otherwise.
Really
but yeah. Short story long. Like I jumped, and like the adrenaline kicks in, and I'm just like screaming with joy, and just so pumped and so happy and like so proud. I'm just like, woo! And like that's the feeling that like I've kept with me, of like, okay, in that moment, like fear just changed for me. Where it's like, I told myself, you know what, there are going to be times in your life where something may feel like fear when it actually could be excitement. I'm like, okay, let's try to see this as excitement. Which I've told myself, like every time after that, because I've also, as you know, like done skydiving and paragliding and hang gliding and all these things. And I love that feeling of like, okay, let's redefine what I've been told this experience is supposed to be. Like, it's not fear, like maybe I'm excited.
That is amazing. That's such a like great insight.
If you're okay with the understanding of like, okay, this isn't the safest thing, like I am jumping off a bridge, but things are in place to prevent me from getting hurt. If you're cool trusting that, at that point, it can be a bit easier to just focus on like what you're physically feeling. Like, what is this? Like, what is fear? Like, okay, I feel like, you know, like maybe I just want to like run to the bathroom right now, or
For
I'm
me,
feeling
it's
like
a shit feeling. Like I want to take a shit. Yeah.
Dude, just blame it on something you ate and be like, dude, I'm good.
Let's get into Readdress Adventures. What is? I don't think we've even explained what it is yet. So what is it, and what was, more importantly, what was the motivation behind it?
So, Readdress Adventures is basically just my Instagram handle, where it's my personal Instagram where I've been posting photos from just everyday life, and predominantly since my everyday life has become travel. So it's a lot of my travel photos. Basically, I have this red dress it looks like a gown. Like I might show up to like a red carpet event.
It really does.
And so I carry this dress with me wherever I go, and I just wear it in these, you know, places that are special to me or are iconic. I particularly like wearing it when I'm hiking. So if I'm, you know, at a summit or at a peak or this just beautiful place, I just like stop, change into and then just like change into this red dress like in public, and luckily it's like strapless, so it's a little bit easier to get into, but it's, you know, like people around sometimes are just like, what is going on? So it's like that little reminder of like, okay, I have like my little silly thing, like fun thing, and I love the photos afterwards, you know, and it just like takes me back to
they're amazing,
those experiences. So again, it just kind of like, it was this little vision that I had, and I just ran with it. And that's kind of what it became, where I'm like, you know what, it'd be really cool to like just travel around and like carry it with me, which normally I like to pack super light, so it's kind of hilarious that I pack this, you know, like bundle of fabric with me.
Yeah, it is quite a bundle. Like it's amazing that you've managed it to all these crazy places to take it with you.
Yeah, it's not so bad actually. It because it's not.
Do you roll it up like that thing? Okay.
I'm not like preserving it in some you know, like dry cleaning bag or anything. I'm sure it has like twigs stuck in it somewhere, and because it's not for the sake of being like formal and fancy. It's just like, let me bring this like fancy red dress along, and almost like the anachronism or the surprise of like, you're at the top of a mountain, you're super sweaty, and now you're wearing this red dress. It's just kind of funny.
I love it. We were talking about earlier about the Digital Nomad, you know, how that's become so popular. How have you made that happen for yourself? Like how do you, because you work during this time that not for the past 7 years, but sometimes you've traveled and not worked, but that's what you're doing now, kind of working from the laptop, that whole thing, and also going along with that, like how are you doing it? But then also, how do you feel about this whole new wave of like that glamorization of working from your laptop and you're like sitting by the beach? You know, is it always that glamorous, or you know?
So to the first part of your question, I ended up doing this because I do graphic design work. Graphic and visual design, and also like social media marketing, and I'm able to take my laptop with me, and just, you know, I just need Wi-Fi, and I make the time during my day to get my work done. As far as managing it and the like glamorization of having your laptop like next to the beach, I mean, it depends, because sometimes it feels like, okay, I'm here working on my laptop, there's the beach, why am I not in it?
It's almost like you can't, it's like, what do you call it?
It's like
a tease.
Exactly. So it depends on how you handle that, but for me, it's just that sense of balance where it's like, okay, you know what, like right now I'm feeling inspired, like, because I'm in an area of creative work. So I feel that this type of position works so well for this type of job, where, you know, like I have lulls of creativity, and sometimes there's that blur between, you know, like when I'm working, when I'm not. Like I'll just get an idea, where for me it doesn't make sense to be restricted to like, okay, you know what, 8 hours of this day, like continuously, you're expected to come up with these amazing ideas
Yeah.
and you have to like produce them. Like that's just not how it works. So I find inspiration like as I'm traveling too, where it's like something just sparks my mind. I'm like, boom, I like run with it. And that's how I am with my job. Like I just care so much about it. I care about design, and currently I'm working for an education tech company, so that's a major passion of mine. So it just fits perfectly where I care so much about it. And if I I'm kind of wrestling with something or feel like I've plateaued creatively, I just go for a walk and then just like feel a little bit better about it, and then tackle like whatever project I have. And it just works so naturally with the type of work I'm doing, with how I personally am productive as well. It's a balance. So if I'm like on my laptop and there's this beautiful beach, I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm being super productive right now, boom, like crank this out, get it done. And then I know that I have access to like snorkeling or swimming, and I can go ahead and do that.
With Readdress Adventures, you talk a lot about like sharing different stories that are special to you, and like the memories you create as you go along, which is amazing. Is there one memory or story that like I'm sure like you do have a million? I mean, and I know that we've talked about like along the way everything that happens, but is there one that sticks out that you can just share?
There's one experience that sticks out because I'm sitting here next to you.
Okay.
Which is the time that I spent in Punjab, which was very, very special because I basically grew up with you and grew up with your family, and to have the opportunity to go to Punjab and just kind of be immersed in like the traditions, the culture, the stories that I've heard from your dad and your mom about growing up there and them working on the farm. And I was working on the farm when I was there. It was so special. And also I found it so hilarious to just be like walking around the village and then just hearing like someone call out Mandeep, Mandeep. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is she here? And then because it's an ungendered name, right? Yeah. So I'm like, even if it was like this little boy, I'm like, oh, it's Mandeep.
So just to let you guys know, I am from Punjab. So I'm Punjabi. It's like the northern part of India, and it's very agricultural. There's a lot of farms, and my parents used to be farm owners back home before they immigrated to America. And also Mandeep, my name, may sound very unique to a lot of people, but it's actually like the Joe Smith in Punjabi. Like literally everybody has this name Mandeep. It's very, very common.
That's
why she was hearing it left and right. It's like, oh my goodness. All right, babe. Well, thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with Lolo me. I appreciate it. And sharing all your amazing stories. I think you're an inspiration, and I love you.
I love you.
Yeah, come here.
Right back at you.
Bye. Before we leave, where can people find you online? If you want them to find you online.
Readdress Adventures is my Instagram handle.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys, you know the drill. Like this video. Comment. We talked about fear earlier. Let us know how you approach fear. Do you change your frame of mind around it, or how do you approach it in your life? And then also don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and I will see you later. Bye.